So here's the obvious. The Edmonton Oilers need to improve their goaltending. Question is, how are they going to do that? In my opinion, they have two avenues they can go down. Actually, three. Trade, free agency, or stick with what you got. And I know that sounds kind of scary, but it might be their best option. Seriously. If you look at who's available and who might be available. And the reason I started thinking about this was because over at the Daily Face-Off, Frank Saravalli put out his list of who's on the goalie market and who's looking for a goalie. And obviously at the top of the list is the Edmonton Oilers. They got Stuart Skinner. They got Calvin Pickard. They don't have a number one. They have a tandem, but a tandem that you can't really trust. So can you really trust a tandem, actually? I know recent history suggests that you can win with a tandem or multiple goalies. The Colorado Avalanche, the Vegas Golden Knights. But it's so few and far between. You need a number one guy. But to go out there and find a number one guy, a true number one elite stud in the NHL, it's almost impossible to do unless you give up half your team for Andrei Vasilevsky or Sergei Bobrovsky or whoever's at the top of the list. There may be only like 6 or 7 legit elite goaltenders in the NHL. So the Oilers, what do they got to do? Well, you have to consider, are you going to stick with Stuart Skinner, a guy who's been with you in back-to-back Stanley Cup finals, but also a guy who really has no gray area? It's two ends of the spectrum. It's either spectacular goaltending, top tier, best in the NHL, or it's the complete other side. It's the worst goalie in the world. And then you got to go to Calvin Pickard, who looked pretty good in the playoffs, 7-1. But do you really want to put your eggs in the basket of a guy that people say his style reminds him of a beer league goalie? I know Tim Thomas had that same whatever title, but I don't know if you're the Oilers and you want to stick with these two guys. So if you don't, what do? Well, you can hit the trade market. And according to Frank Saravalli, here are some guys who are available, and only took the 3. At the top of the list is John Gibson, who's been on the block for years. This guy, I don't know when this guy's going to get traded. It feels like he might get traded now. I don't know what his value is. And if you bring him in, is he a number one guy? I don't think so. But he's been on the block for years, like I mentioned. And he has serious injury history, so you have to question his reliability and durability. And you need that in the playoffs, especially for a team who considers themselves a win-now team and wants to go out and win the cup. I mean, and they need to reach the Stanley Cup final for the 3rd time. So your goaltender has to be stellar, I think, throughout this season and postseason to backstop a tired team, right? He has 2 years left at 6.4 on his cap, so not terrible, but not great for the Oilers, who need all the cap space they can get. Last season, he made 28 starts, had a .912 save, which is pretty good considering the team that he played for, or plays for, the Anaheim Ducks. But if I'm the Oilers, this is probably not the guy that I want unless Anaheim's willing to give me a great deal and they're retaining 50% of his salary. I think that's the only way they could probably spin that. He'd be off my list if I'm the Oilers. And then Elvis Merzlikins. Dude, Elvis Merzlikins is not a number one goalie if you're a Stanley Cup contender. A legit one. He's just not. Listen, he's got 2 years left at 5.4, which is too rich for my blood for Elvis Merzlikins, especially if you're the Oilers with cap issues. He led in the 3rd most goals in the league for Columbus. Some of his fault, and right, some of the team in front of him, Columbus defensively, they need to improve. But Merzlikins is not an option as a number one or a 1A or 1B for the Oilers. So forget that. So already 2 off the list. Now Thatcher Demko. This one's getting a lot of play. I like Thatcher Demko. I think a healthy Thatcher Demko is a really good goalie in the NHL and can be your number one. Can he backstop you to a Stanley Cup? Possibly. Depends on the team in front of him. And defensively, the Oilers have improved. So if you get a healthy Thatcher Demko, however you can make that happen in front of an improved defense, okay. Now you're looking at a number one guy. Maybe a 1A or 1B. He's got 1 year left at $5 million, so that's ideal. I think it'll be difficult to swing a trade from Vancouver to Edmonton, even though the Oilers just sent Evander Kane over there to open up some cap space. But I don't know. He's excellent when he's healthy. .918 save percentage and a 2.4 goals against in 51 games a couple seasons ago. He actually got a Vezina nom. So I don't know if Jim Rutherford and the Canucks are willing to make that move. Are they willing to give up on Demko? I'm not sure. This is a contract year. Maybe he's healthy. Maybe he stands on his head and you have a goalie for the future. But they just signed Kevin Lankinen. They extended him. Artur Svilovs was incredible for Abbotsford in the AHL. So I don't know. But if you're the Oilers, like, is it worth exploring a Thatcher Demko deal? I don't think it is. I like him, but again, you have to question his reliability. You have to question his durability. Is this knee injury going to pop up once again? It could happen. And if you're the Oilers, you bring that in after making a trade, you're in the same position because you don't have a true number one goaltender or a 1A or 1B. So this is why I'm saying what they have right now might be their best option because of what's out there. Look at the free agents list. There's no one you really want out there outside of Jake Allen. But Jake Allen is not going to be your number one guy. He can play that way. He has the ability to do that and probably is, the cream of the crop when it comes to the free agents right now. But are you willing to pay this guy $4 million or north of $4 million? Which he'll probably demand because he was really good last season. I don't think if you're the Oilers, you can do that. One, I don't think you can do that based on cap because you got to sign Evan Bouchard. You got to figure out, you probably need another line mate for Leon Draisaitl. You got to get a legit winger. You can't be swinging in Podkolzin and Perry and Kapanen on Draisaitl's line. Get him a winger he can play with throughout the entire season, or at least another top six guy who can move from the second to the first line or vice versa. There's priorities for the Oilers right now. Got to figure out what you want to do with Evan Bouchard. I think you need a winger, and obviously goaltending is maybe number 2, maybe number 1 on that list. And then the rest of the free agents, it's just a bunch of old Maple Leaf goalies, right? Ilya Samsonov, James Reimer, Matt Murray, Jack Campbell, who the Oilers are still paying. Vitek Vanacek just won a cup with the Panthers. I don't think he touched the ice. I think the only time he touched the ice for the Panthers was during the celebration. Anyway, no one else on that list that I really like. Alex Lyon's okay. Georgiev is... Colorado got rid of him because they couldn't trust him. So why the hell would the Oilers go after him? Doesn't make any sense, right? So if you're the Oilers, that's just what I'm saying. Like, what you have right now might be the best option. You have Skinner and Pickard at less than $4 million, I believe, or less than $5 million. And they're both in their final years of their contract. I know you don't want to waste time with McDavid. He's entering the last year of his deal. You want to put your best foot forward. You want to have the best team possible behind him. I just don't know if you can go into this goalie market and say, well, if we take this guy or that guy or trade for this guy or that guy, it's going to improve our goaltending. Stuart Skinner and Calvin Pickard were better than the goalies they faced outside of Sergei Bobrovsky. Better than Darcy Kemper, better than Aiden Hill, better than Jake Ottinger. It's the weirdest position in the world, goaltending. I don't fully understand it. But if you're the Oilers, I think you have to either just consider the status quo, which I don't think McDavid and Oilers fans want to hear, or you got to swing for the fences and go after somebody else who may not be available and try and put together an incredible package. I don't know who that is. Is it Jordan Binnington? Do you call the Islanders and ask about Sorokin? Those are two guys that come to my head. I think Binnington would be great. I believe he's in his final year. I don't know if the Blues want to let him go, but they got Joel Hofer there, who they believe in. But he might be on the move. So I think what I'm trying to say here is that the Oilers are in a difficult spot. They're in a spot where they can't really improve their goaltending by going to the market. So you might be stuck with what you got, and kind of hope for the best. It's not an ideal situation, but Stuart Skinner has been there for back-to-back Stanley Cup finals. Now, there were times when he was great, and there were times where he was horrible. But he was able to be a part of the team that got you there. I don't know. It's a tough one for Oilers fans, but going to the market, I just don't think is ideal. If you go and get Thatcher Demko or John Gibson, like I mentioned, I think it's a roll of the dice because you don't know what they're going to give you. That's my take on the Oilers goaltending situation. I would love to know what you think. Oilers fans, if you're out there, tell me. What should the Oilers do? What is their best option? Going to the market, making a trade, picking up a free agent, or just sticking with what you got, which might be the best case scenario for the Edmonton Oilers? Let me know in the comments below.